My name is John LaFronz, and I'm the general manager here at Dollar Store Services. We are the largest developer of independently owned dollar stores in North America. We've opened over 3,500 stores here in the U.S. and around the globe since 1993. I myself have been here 20 of those years, uh, working to help individuals such as yourself develop your stores. I have about, uh, I may sound tired, and that's because I have 40 years of experience in the discount retail business. I've owned my own stores. I've worked for major chains. I've done overseas buying, so I'm fairly well versed in all aspects of our business, and I absolutely love the dollar store business. So hopefully I can share some of that excitement with you this evening. I would like to take a few minutes um, and I know there's some of you that may not have spoken to anyone in our company, so I'm just going to give you a brief, abbreviated version of what we do. Good evening, welcome. Um, I'll give you a quick thumbnail of what we do, and then talk about each item in a little bit more detail, and then we'll open up to questions. If you could mute your phone, please, until we get to the question and answer portion, ma'am. So again, we are the nation's largest developer, and we have a 100% turnkey program. It includes 7 key services that gets your store open for you. Those services are financing assistance, site location assistance. We negotiate your lease agreement for you. Good evening, welcome. We provide a complete setup of the store, including all the labor, fixtures, equipment, interior signage, and so on. We provide comprehensive training both before and after opening. If you could mute your phone, please, be very much appreciated. Uh, as part of the package, you become part of our merchandise network, and that provides you savings of 20 to 25% on merchandise versus what you would pay as an individual going to the very same suppliers. And of course, we provide unparalleled long-term support. And I'll touch briefly on each one of those. I know you've probably seen our material on our website or received emails from us. Um, Financing, we have any number of options for funding, and they go anywhere from SBA to fixed rate, fixed term loans, business lines of credit, converting your 401k, many other options as well. When you come on board with an application, the first thing we do is assess the options that you have in financing, share those with you, and if you make a decision to go forward with one of them, or if you provide your own funding, then we move right into real estate, and we start with site location. Site location, we assign you a team of, good evening, welcome. We assign you a team consisting of a leasing manager and a site locator, and we assess and identify every location that fits the parameters that you've set in terms of geography and store size and so on. We eliminate the ones that we know will not be acceptable, and then we provide you all the information on every location that we believe is worthy of your review. You'll have access to a secured website on which you can see all the information about every location, and you can also post notes uh, as you visit those locations, give us your feedback, and of course you're talking to your leasing team every single day virtually. Um, so that's how the site location process works. As we identify rather locations that we like and that you have interest in, we start the lease negotiation process on that location. Um, and we will negotiate over 17 key provisions designed to protect you. Things such as making sure the space is compliant with Americans with Disabilities Act, that the lease has no relocation clause in it, so the landlord can't move you to another space without your approval. Uh, Dark clause, where if the anchor tenant, like the grocery store or Target or Walmart, closes, you're protected. You have outs in your lease, and many, many other provisions as well. Um, our leasing managers each negotiate over 100 leases every year, so they're very experienced, very skilled in negotiating retail leases. And as we finalize a lease, we review it with you, answer any questions, of course, that you might have, and then hopefully we finalize the location and we move to store setup. At that point, you move to our operations department. Good evening, welcome. And in your store setup, again, we provide all the store fixtures and counters, all the merchandise, interior signage, all the labor to put everything together, everything you need within the retail space of the store. It takes us about a week after arrival to set up your store. Our crew arrives on a Monday morning. We start receiving all the store equipment, setting it up. Merchandise starts arriving Monday evening, and we're stocking the store as the merchandise arrives. And by Friday, you are ready to open. Now, between when you sign your lease and when we go out to set up your store, you're working with our trainer and a merchandise manager to create your opening orders, all of which you will approve, and doing the training, which we right now do online and over the phone at your convenience. Because of COVID-19 situation, we can't do training in-house here. And then, of course, on site, the setup supervisor will review merchandising of your store. You'll be working with him as he sets up the shelving. He'll show you kind of how we stock and why we stock in a certain way. He will also do a retraining on the cash handling equipment so that you are 100% ready when your store opens. And again, that process takes about 7 days. Then, as part of our package that I might have mentioned earlier, you become part of our merchandise network. We have over 85 suppliers located strategically around the United States to ensure fast delivery times once you place an order. I visit all of our suppliers once every 6 to 8 weeks. I hand select the best new items, negotiate the prices, and then we provide that information to you. So you always have access to new merchandise, which is important in our business, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Good evening, welcome. It's very difficult to buy merchandise from a catalog or on the internet because you really can't assess the quality of the item, the quality of the packaging, and so on. And that's why we travel to visit all of our suppliers, and we select only the best merchandise, and if I can't negotiate the right price on that product, you will never see it. So it's very, very important. Otherwise, you'd have to spend a lot of time traveling to the suppliers, working in their showrooms, and it would involve so much time away from your store. So we do that work for you. And again, being part of our network, you will save 20 to 25% on merchandise because we deliver so much volume to our suppliers in a given week or month. So you get the pricing same as would a large chain of stores going to these same suppliers. Now, once your store is open, you will stay on our trainer's desk for the first 3 to 4 months that you're open, and she will be in contact with you every day as you get into the operation of your store. She'll help you write replenishment orders, get you ready for every season and holiday, help you source product that your customers may be asking for, all with the goal of maximizing your sales. She'll be tracking your sales by category with you, helping you grow the sales in each category. And so that process goes on again for the first 3 to 4 months. If at the end of that time we feel and you feel that you've really got your arms around the store and you're headed in the right direction, everything's going well, you're very comfortable, then we move your store to a long-term coordinator's desk. And that person provides that same level of support, somewhat less intense. She will or he will contact you several times a week, but they are always available to you. You can call any time with any request for assistance that you might need, and we're here to help you with that. So we quite honestly never go away. And all of this starts with a simple application that your sales representative can help you fill out. It takes about 10 minutes. And again, the first step is to see if you can get funding, and then we move forward from there. Now, some exciting things that are going on in our industry that I just want to share with you briefly. I know we've all been dealing with the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation that seems like it's been here forever, even though it's only been February or March. Our stores throughout were deemed to be essential businesses. And by that I mean when a lot of other retailers had to close in a lot of cities and states, our stores did not. Because we carried product that people needed and had to have. Paper products, health and beauty aids, sanitizers, face masks, all the items that were difficult to find in the grocery stores, especially at the beginning. We had that product and we had it throughout. There was really no break in our supply chain. So So it was a great advantage for our store owners to be able to stay open through all of this. And in fact, while a lot of retailers struggled or unfortunately went out of business, the dollar stores grew almost exponentially. In fact, at the height of the pandemic, for the second quarter, Dollar General reported the largest sales increase year over year in their history. They're up over 22%, almost 22%, I'm sorry, during that second quarter. And that's what we saw throughout the year. There was an article or a feature on CNBC a week ago about Wall Street, and they were assessing different retail segments. And what they said was that investors universally know that dollar stores are going to grow even more aggressively in terms of sales in 2021 than they did in 2020. Dollar General stock, Dollar Tree stock hit all-time highs in the history of their companies last year to close out the year. So the dollar store business is stronger than ever. There are no shortage of good locations. In fact, unfortunately, because a lot of businesses did not survive, there are many excellent locations available to us. Landlords are making very aggressive lease packages because they want quality tenants, and they want tenants whose businesses are pandemic proof, I guess, for lack of a better term. And they know that our stores are that. So it's an opportune time to be getting into this business. It's always grown. It's never stopped growing. It is virtually the strongest retail segment in the economy and has been for a number of years. The dollar store business generates in excess of $60 billion a year. And we know that there are different formats that work in different areas. And you might be aware, and if not, I'll share this very quickly. We have several different formats. We have a dollar-only store, which is similar to a Dollar Tree. We do a Dollar Plus store, which is like or similar to a Family Dollar or a Dollar General, where you have dollar product and you have product that sells for more than $1. And our exciting new concept that we've been doing for the last number of months is a 1, 2, 3 store, where everything sells for $3 or less, and about half the store sells for $1. So what we did, we've got a store that has the absolute best dollar product available, and then we took the best of the items that sell for $3 and under and rolled that into that merchandise mix too. So this store is totally unique in virtually every market. You can compete very aggressively with the Dollar Trees and the Family Dollars of the world because you're different than anyone else. And of course, we also do a big box dollar store over 10,000 square feet, which is like a mini grocery. And those are the formats that we develop. And as you get into real estate, we start looking at locations. We'll assess every location, and you and I will have a conversation, and I can share with you my thoughts about which format might be the best in any given location. So that's part of the process as we get into real estate and start working. It's kind of interesting that this 1, 2, 3 store is again we've been doing it for about, I guess, totally about 9 or 10 months now. Dollar Tree recently announced what they're calling Dollar Tree 2.0, which is in essence a Dollar Plus store. They're going to have Dollar and Dollar Plus product. But we've been doing Dollar Plus stores for 15 years or more, so they're finally catching up with us, I guess you might say. So that is the long and the short of our business. You know, one thing that we do that a lot of dollar stores, independents can't do and don't do, is we add a lot of what I call revenue generators. There are add-ons that you can add to your store, either when you open or later, that create additional sales, profits, and revenue, and brings increased traffic to your store. And those are things like key making, faxing, participating in the EBT program, which is the food stamp program, and many, many others. There's so many ways to customize your store. First, to make it unique, and then to drive extra business to your store. In fact, we have some stores that are now looking to put in mailbox units so they can accept mail deliveries. A lot of people are very much concerned about identity theft and have been for a while. So you can put a bank of mailboxes in your store, receive mail, rent the mailboxes, so you get revenue from the mailbox rentals, and that customer that's rented that box comes into your store 3 or 4 times a week to pick up their mail. So every time they do, you have the opportunity to sell them more product. So that's always what I look for, are add-ons that create traffic, create profit, and again, don't take up very much space as well. So that is dollar store services in a nutshell. We've been doing this for many years. We work very hard to find the best possible locations, and it's a partnership throughout. We work together with you on all aspects. At the end of the day, you are the boss, you are the store owner, and all final decisions are yours. But we're going to give you all the information we can to help you make the best business decisions. And with that, what I would like to do is, good evening, welcome. With that, I would like to,
Hi.
hi, I want to share one more thing very quickly. Uh, in the email invitation that we sent to you, there was an offer for $2,000 in free merchandise when we open your store. And that offer is good if you submit your application and deposit by next Friday. So you have plenty of time. You can talk to your sales representative, ask questions, and if you decide to move forward, then that would be available to you as well. Um, what I'd like to do now is kind of open it up to questions, and I'd ask everybody to be as orderly as possible. There are a lot of us on the call tonight, so I'll try and acknowledge each question as quickly as I can. A lot of times the questions that you might have, somebody else might ask as well. So uh, now I'm ready to take those questions, and I look forward to them. So who's first up?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go first. My
Okay.
name is Deborah, and I'm a veteran, and my question was about funding.
Yes.
You mentioned a lot about different types of funding. I was wondering, for veterans, do you have specific funding that's separate from the SBA funding for veterans?
Um, we have a discount that we can offer to you. There is as you say, the veterans funding through the SBA. We have nothing else specific for veterans. There's just nothing out there, unfortunately, which is hard for me to believe. But um,
Yeah,
the the Patriot Loan Program
um,
is probably the best, and I think that's through
that's
SBA.
one. Okay, and I do have another question. As
Yes.
far as merchandising, does it have to be merchandise that's purchased through your company? Or let's say I knew a wholesaler, like I lived in Korea for a year, and I know someone that I can buy products from
Ah,
there. Would I be able to sell my own products in addition to your merchandise, or is that just your merchandise only?
no, absolutely. You can. It's your store, and we're not a franchise, so there are no restrictions on what you can put in
Wonderful.
your store. Yeah, and a lot of people do that because they have access to sources as you have, or they have product that's specific to their market that they want to add, and that's wonderful. That's exactly what our program's designed to allow you to do. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Well, thank you. I have more questions, but I'm going to let somebody else ask a question. I feel like I'm taking up the whole.
No, feel free to jump back in.
Okay. The other thing is you mentioned like little vendors, mailbox, etc., and key making and faxes and all that thing.
Yes.
Do you do that, or is that like an option, or that you provide that we can add on, or is that something that you're suggesting as an idea that we can do if we choose on our own to go out and seek out and
No,
do?
we have resources for all of those items. So if you decided,
Oh,
I want to get into key making, we have the resource and provide the key blanks and the display material and the key machine and the training and so on. Same thing for the mailboxes. You buy a mailbox unit, and there's an inexpensive piece of software that you can run on a personal computer, which handles the rentals of the boxes. It also shoots out emails. If you get mail that you've received today for Mr. Brown, you just enter it. It shoots out an email to Mr. Brown that says, "Hey, you have mail today, sir. You might want to come in and pick it up." But yeah, all of those programs are programs that we can provide for you.
wonderful.
And
I
that's
didn't even know that. That's amazing.
it's
That
a
that was
great
pretty.
thing. In fact, we have one. I won't bore you, but we have one program that we also develop discount party stores and mailbox stores, and a program that's been really productive in those stores is custom printing while you wait. And we have a program where you can put a printer and a monitor in your store. The customer can come in. They can design, for example, their own banner, pick the font, pick the color. They can load photos onto it. Takes about 5 minutes, and then it prints the banner while they're standing there. It's not like Signs USA or any of those companies where you have to go in, place your order, you come back 3 days later, get your banner. It prints right in front of you. You can even pick the type of material. If you want it for indoors, you want it for outdoors, you want heavy duty. Um, it's amazing. You can also print gift wrap. In fact, I was watching a demonstration a couple of days ago where they took photos of a couple when they first got married and at their 25th anniversary and at their 50th anniversary, and they made gift wrap and a banner that showed all these images. It was just incredible.
Yeah, I've seen that at Walgreens, and yeah, I was pretty amazed. I can put a photo on pretty much anything at all. Yeah, so that's pretty neat.
And people like it, and the word spreads fast.
Okay, and you said you provide all the fixtures and whatnot.
Yes, 100%. When we leave
the
store, yep. When we leave the store after that week, you are open for business. Nothing else that you.
What happens if a business fails? Who would own the fixtures then?
You would.
Would you?
Yeah,
you still own the fixtures.
You own everything, lock, stock, and barrel.
Okay. And there's no extra like costs or like ongoing fee for the ongoing training and assistance?
No, you pay.
I know you don't. I'm sure you don't charge a royalty fee or
$2 none of that.
product. So.
No, you pay us one time for the store package that you select, and that is it. And you get obviously everything, long-term support, the training, and so on. You can send me cookies at Christmas. I'll gratefully accept them. But but that would be it.
So it's included in the package. It
Absolutely.
goes by package.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hi,
yes, ma'am.
I have
Go ahead.
two questions.
Yes.
So first is, what is the square footage of the smaller, the basic store?
Okay, good question. We start at 1,000 square feet, and that package has a cost of $76,900. And again, it includes everything that we just discussed.
Okay, and do you provide a software or anything for like invoicing when customers come in and buy certain items? How do we ring up the items?
Okay, we use an electronic cash register, very simple, and it tracks your sales by category, so it helps you with your reordering. Years ago, we used a point of sale system, but we found, our owners actually found, that they spent more time updating the information in the point of sale system than they did actually operating in their store. And if I can take a minute, I'll explain why that is. In our business, there are several components to a good merchandise program. They are value, variety, and new merchandise. Value we provide because, as I mentioned earlier, I negotiate the prices, I hand select the items. Variety you can achieve because we have 85 suppliers in our network scattered across the country, and because A, we negotiate the prices, and B, because we negotiate freight guarantees and freight concessions from our suppliers. If you're in Atlanta, Georgia, you can buy product from suppliers in Los Angeles, suppliers in Chicago, suppliers in Houston, where your competitors cannot. So that gives you an instant advantage. You're going to have merchandise that they could never, ever have in their stores because they can't afford to get it there. And the last leg of that is new merchandise, and that kind of brings us to the POS question. Because to run a successful dollar store, you have to constantly show new product to your customers. In your store, you will have 30 to maybe 40% of the items that you carry will be items that you repurchase, and they're the consumable products, as you would imagine. Paper products, health and beauty aids, snack foods, things of that nature where your customer comes in, buys them, uses them up, and comes back again. Now, when I shop your store, I come in with a shopping list, much like you do, and maybe I have paper towels, I have toilet tissue, I've got shampoo. If you could see me, I have vanilla wafers. Excuse me, could you mute your phone, please? There's some noise in the background there. Thank you. And so I go in your store, I find those items, and then I start to look around, and now I'm seeing items that I didn't know I needed, but are very attractive to me. So maybe I see a set of 4 placemats that would look great in my kitchen, so I pick them up. And I'll pick up a man-made chamois to wash my car. I don't have one. Gee, that's a great item. And maybe some toys for my grandchildren. And all of a sudden, that $6 or $8 purchase that I intended to make now is a $15 or $16 purchase, because now I'm buying items that I didn't know I needed, but the perceived value was so good that I had to have them, and so I bought them. Now, when I come back again, I need those consumables, the paper towels and so on. I don't need the placemats because they didn't get used up. I don't need the chamois, still have it. But if you show me something new in kitchenware or in auto care or in home decor, now I'm a customer again. So the new goods component is so critical to your success, and those items typically pay a better margin, and they turn very quickly. They increase your average transaction, and they provide more bottom line profit. And circling back to the point of sale question, what our owners found was they spent so much time creating the data files in their POS for items and tracking the sales on items that they were never going to buy again. So they came back to us over time and said, I'm really just using this point of sale system as a cash register. So, and they're very expensive. So we circled back to using the electronic cash register. Again, it'll track your sales by category. And that's really how your trainer is going to evaluate your store with you. What percent of total is hardware? What percent of total is housewares? And so on. And that leads us to help you make decisions when you're adding new merchandise. How should I break up my new merchandise dollars this week? If I'm doing 12% total sales on hardware, I want to make sure that I'm buying at least 12% of my new goods investment in hardware because it's important to me. So I'm sorry it took a long time to answer your question, but that is the answer.
Hi. Yeah, this is Tim. Just to follow up on that question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
On inventory. Does the POS system then, does that tie into inventory to repurchase, or how does that work?
No, because again, it's not a POS system. What we do in terms of...
Let me rephrase it then.
Go ahead.
So the information that comes off of the system, does that help in ordering future products and replenishing?
Yes, absolutely, because it's telling you where your sales are coming from. So you'll know what the percent of total sales for each of the categories or departments in your store. And then what we do is... Go ahead, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, and when it does that, does it break down, because there's thousands of items in the store itself, so does it break it down to each product individually or a category?
Just a category. But then to extend that, what we do is in training, we set up a check and order schedule for you. And say, for example, you have 20 suppliers that you're using in your store on a fairly regular basis. We'll set up a schedule so each week you check 5 of those and order if necessary, and it becomes a very simple process. You look at your previous invoices and check your consumables. Make sure you order those that you need. Then you're on the phone with your merchandise coordinator, and she's going to be talking through with you. And you get emails every week of the new product offerings as we identify those items for you as well. So she or he will walk you through, you're doing a great percentage of your business in hardware. So here's some great hardware items you may want to add. So you have your basics, you add your new goods, and your order's done. It takes, once you've been through the cycle a couple of times, it should not take you more than 2 hours a week to order your store. It's very, very simple.
Okay. This final question I'll get off for other people. When you talk about site selection, let's say in North Carolina, a town in North Carolina, do you currently have targeted areas you want to go into, or is that based on the real estate person?
It's actually more client-driven. When you come into real estate, you'll have an initial conversation with your leasing team, and you're going to tell us where you would like your store to be. You may say, I want to be in Winston-Salem. And we'll say, okay, what areas within Winston-Salem? And you may have a preference and you may not. And we may go back and say, how far are you willing to travel from your home for your business? And you may say, well, I can go 10 miles or I can go 12 miles. And then that gives us the basic parameter that we can start with. So now we know we've got a radius of about 10 miles from your address, and we're looking for spaces of 2,000 square feet. And that's how that process starts. We want to make sure that your store is situated to the greatest degree possible where it's A, convenient for you, and B, or let me reverse that, A, in the location with the most potential, and B, in a location that's convenient for you. I don't care if you have to drive a little bit farther to get to the best possible location, and I'll convince you if you disagree. I say that jokingly, but it's funny. I've talked to clients over the years, and their first requirement is, well, I don't want to go more than 10 minutes from my home. So we kind of have to have that conversation and reset those expectations, because I want to make sure that we don't miss a good location because it's another 10 minutes drive for you. I want to make sure that we find the best possible location.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just have two questions. So after I've gotten approved for this, how long does it take for our store to be like up and running, like including the lease? It's like everything is stocked and everything.
Okay, good question. I'll make this comment. Historically, once you get into real estate, it typically takes about 30 to maybe 45 days at the outside to find a location and complete the lease negotiations. Now, in real estate, we may negotiate on 3 or 4 different locations for you for several reasons. One, it's often advantageous to leverage one location or one landlord against another to drive the numbers as low as possible in terms of rental rates and free rent and so on. And also, from time to time, a location just doesn't finish. There may be another potential tenant in the water that the landlord doesn't expose to us, or we may be in the second position. You don't always know. So we'll negotiate on several. And that's advantageous for you because at the end of the day, you can look at 2 or 3 locations and we'll review with you the economics of each. And it's interesting sometimes because if you have and I'll give you an example, a brand new shopping center, sometimes the rental rates asking tend to be higher because the shopping center has no history, and the landlord thinks he's sitting on a gold mine. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get to what is really a positive rent there for you. But there may be another center close by that's maybe a second generation center. It's been open for 8 or 10 years, and the landlord has cycled through a few tenants, and he knows where the rental rates should be. So he'll negotiate based on more grounded reality. And what we sometimes find is that you may be able to make more money in a location doing less business than you could in another because the rental rate is so much lower. So it really comes down to what does it cost me to be here and how much money can I generate here in terms of revenue. So that's part of our process. As we get to a point in the negotiation where we know all the final numbers, how much the rent is going to be, how much free rent the landlord's going to provide, how is he going to deliver the space, is he going to completely finish it out for you. Then I can sit down with you and we can actually do a worksheet. We'll estimate the expenses, we can estimate the revenue based on an actual location and see what the potential is for that location, and we'll weigh one against the other and help you make that decision.
Okay, and also in the $76,100 for the store, is the payroll included or?
No, the payroll will be paid out of the sales and profits that you generate.
All right, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. My name is Rose Fernandez. The first person that was asking you questions, and she was talking about if she wants to open a dollar store like I do, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can incorporate mailboxes into the dollar store and printing services and kiosks and all that other stuff?
Yes, we have to, when we identify locations, we have to negotiate those uses into the lease. But yeah, absolutely, you can do that.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's a nice benefit, and we'll pick the ones that are best suited for you, and they're all very reasonable to add in. So.
Okay.
Very good.
And one other question. So
your last person, the person that was talking to you, was talking about location, and I know you guys. We say we want to open up a store, like say in Area A, and you're saying, well, no, it won't do too good there in Area A, so we don't want to open it. I mean, if we're dead set on that area and we're buying and financing this business, I mean, do we still get that final decision, or is it your decision where you're going to put this store at?
No, good question. And no, at the end of the day, it absolutely is your decision. We're going to give you our best opinion, and I'll be quite honest. There have been times where um, I really counseled one of our clients against a specific location for any number of reasons. Maybe the rent, I believe, is too high, or there's a competitor too close, or whatever those things might be. And I'll go so far as to draft a letter that I call a site exception letter, and it basically tells our client that, I know you're dead set on developing your store in Town and Country Shopping Center. We can't really endorse that location because of whatever reason. I think there's a competitor too close. I think the rent's too high. You're located in your center in a location where it's very hard for customers to see, whatever those things are. But I finish by saying, but if you are committed to that location, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes our clients can see things that we just can't see. So at the end of the day, I'm always going to yield to the client. I will at least have that conversation and kind of tap the brakes to make sure that they're making the best decision for them. But no, it's always their decision or your decision. And if you're determined to go forward with that location and you believe in it and you're seeing potential that I can't see, that's wonderful. And we're going to do the best bang-up job we can of negotiating that location for you and getting your store open and supporting you every way that we can. And, I'm happy to be wrong in those instances, and I have been. So my wife points out every day. My wife points out all the time I'm far from perfect. So.
Okay, and you said endorse. What exactly does that mean? We can't endorse you.
Oh, it means
what does that mean?
It means I can't endorse the location. In other words, I can't say, yeah, this is a great location because the rent's too high. Yeah, just that. I can't put my stamp of approval on it for whatever that's worth. But as I say, very often our clients see potential we don't see. I had a gentleman a few months back, and I said, gee, I just don't like this space, There's not a lot of population close by, and he said, I was at a zoning meeting last week, and it turns out he knows a person on the zoning commission in his community, and they were getting ready to approve a senior community right behind the shopping center. They're going to have like 3,000 units. So.
And they left us to stop at the dollar store.
Exactly. I said, so you have 3,000 units, probably 5,000 or 6,000 people right outside your back door with lots of disposable income and nothing but time. So I said, you're right. So, and those things happen. So we're always going to give you our best opinion.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
Next question.
So is the store fully stocked with the $76,000?
Yes, sir. And you'll have a little bit of back stock on the key consumables as well, household chemicals and paper and things like that. But yeah, it's 100% stocked, ready to roll the day you turn the key and open the door.
Is there a cost for the vendors when we restock stores and anything of that nature?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't get all of that question.
Is there any cost with the vendors, like when we restock the stores?
No cost. You just buy the merchandise. No other costs attached to it.
All right.
What percentage of stores are the 1,000 square foot? Seems awfully small for 1,000 square feet.
I would say in any given year, probably 40%, maybe a little bit more of the stores we open are 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. It's not the biggest footprint, obviously, but they can work very well in the right environment. If you're 2 doors down from a grocery store or a Target, people are going to fall in your door by default. So, larger stores can be more destination stores. Smaller stores tend to need the support of a good center or a good anchor tenant to drive traffic to them. But we do that analysis, as I said earlier, for every store before you ever put pen to paper and sign a lease. We want to know that that store has excellent potential for you.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, and let me expand on that for 1 second, if I may. In addition to, or better said, suppose you lease that 1,000 square foot store, but your intention is to go bigger, just financially you can't get there initially. What we often are able to do is to negotiate what's called the right of first refusal in your lease. And what that means is if you're in your 1,000 square foot store, you're doing well, you'd like to expand and a space in the center becomes available next to you, or a larger space becomes available nearby in the center, the landlord with that clause in place is obligated to offer those spaces to you before he puts them out on the market. So you have the potential.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe 6 months or a year from now, you say, gee, I'm doing so well. And actually, that's happening right now with a couple of our owners. I'm doing so well, man. I wish I had a larger footprint. I just couldn't get there. And the space next to you becomes available. The landlord's got to call you up and say, hey, John, I got another 1,200 square feet right next door. The tenant's moving out. Do you want to look at it? And yeah, so it's a great advantage, and we're often able to get that clause on the lease. And quite honestly,
what is it called?
It's called the right of first refusal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's really a good clause when we get it. And the fact is, if you're a good tenant, you're doing nice business, there's no reason in the world why a landlord wouldn't want you to have more space. It's a benefit for them as well.
What's the first step to move forward?
Okay, the first step would be to talk to your sales representative. He can do an application with you over the phone and take your full refundable deposit. It takes about 10 minutes. And we'll move you into finance. And you'll know within 48 hours what type of financing is available to you and the terms and so forth associated with that. And at that point, you can make the decision, gee, this all sounds good. I like the funding option. I'd like to go forward. That's great. We move you into real estate. If you don't like the funding that's available to you and for whatever reason you decide not to go forward, we just refund your deposit. We part as friends. And if you do go on and develop a store, that deposit becomes part of the purchase price. So you never lose it. It's never at risk for you.
That's amazing.
What is your name, sir? Would you like hold 1 moment, ma'am. Would you like me to have someone call you tomorrow, sir?
Sorry.
I've talked to a representative already.
Okay.
I'm just pretty much waiting until February 1st to move
Very
forward.
good. Yeah, when you're ready, just give me a ring.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
No problem.
Yes, I wanted to know the financing option. Is that part of them telling us what the financing option is? Is it part of them telling us like how long it takes to be able to pay that off?
They can't tell you, well, other than a fixed rate, fixed term loan, the other loans are kind of open ended.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for them to tell you how long it will take to pay it off, because it's really up to you, and it's really up to the sales and profits generated by the store. When we get to that point,
Typically,
I can kind of estimate with you, when we have an actual store space in front of us and we do that final analysis, I can kind of estimate for you, how much you'll be able to, what your payment's going to be every month, and then we can kind of pencil out how long it's going to take to retire that, so to speak.
Oh, so there's no set monthly payments. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, it depends. Obviously, it depends on how much your loan is for, and the rates associated with it. And it's hard to know that now, but you would know that, as I say, before you really move forward.
So what I'm saying is there a set payment with the financing and the interest that, let's say, I'm financing $76,900 at whatever 2%, and will there be a monthly payment, or is the payment you pay back based on your sales?
No, it would be a monthly payment based on the amount of the loan and the interest rate. Yes.
Okay. So it is a set monthly payment.
That is correct. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. And you said as far as space, it has to be a minimum of 1,000 feet, correct?
Yeah,
it cannot be smaller than that.
Well, I won't say it can't be. It would depend on the environment to an extent. You know, last year I did a 600 square foot store. It was in a very small community and was in conjunction with another business that the individual had. Um, I mean, it's doable, but it's kind of hard to generate the volume out of something
Yeah,
much less than
correct.
1,000 square feet. But, you know, that being
Right.
said, every situation is unique, so I'll never say never until we kind of look
Well, the
at
only
it.
reason I asked that, I have a place in mind, but you know what? I really don't know what the square footage is, so I'm
Yeah.
going to have to look into that.
I'll give you an example. I did a party store last year for an individual, and it was actually she's in a really small community, and there's no retail spaces available, and she rented 2 mini storages and did a
Oh,
party store out of
wow.
the mini storage, and she was doing extremely well, and her rent was almost zero because they're not
That's
really retail
amazing.
spaces. But she did a lot of advertising in the community, word of mouth, and her Facebook page was very powerful. So she was there. We put shelving on the inside, took down the walls in between them, and yeah, I think she has about 600 feet or so, and she's doing a land office business. So you never quite know.
That is amazing. Yeah, that's an idea I would have never thought of. Wow.
Yes, go ahead. In fact, years ago, we did a store for an individual. It was, again, a very small community, and he had a piece of ground, uh, and there were no retail spaces available. He rented 4 of the construction type trailers that you see. They use them for construction offices. Joined them
Nice.
together and opened them up on the inside. So we had about a 1,200 square foot store made out of construction trailers. So you never know. Whoever has that horn honking, could you mute your phone, please? Thank you. Got it. Thank you. Next question. I'm sorry.
Quick
I have a
question.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Question about at what point will we have visibility on making a financial decision on the P&L?
Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Sure. In order to go into the restaurant, into the store and buy it, I'd like to see the financial on it. What is potential cash flow? At what point do we look at existing stores that have similar square footage on cash flow?
I think he's referencing profit and loss, correct?
I understand.
Yeah, profit. Yeah, P&L. Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
We are not a franchise. Let me start there. So our stores do not report operational numbers to us. Excuse me. They're all independent owners. So what I typically do in that instance is, before you move into real estate, if you like, I can find a subject location in the market that you're looking to put your store in, which can be kind of an exemplar of what your store might ultimately be. And, excuse me, I'm sorry, I can estimate the final rent and then do an estimated P&L based on that location. That'll give you a sense of what the numbers can be. But as I said earlier, we will do that again once we get to an actual location with a final set of numbers that you're specifically targeting. And I will do that before you ever determine that you want to sign the lease. So and that's absolutely the best time to do that, because now we know what the rent is, and we know all the other specifics about the location, where the competitors are, who they are, who your co-tenants are in the center. I can assess what they can deliver to you in terms of traffic and so on. But yeah, if you want, I can take a subject location. I just did one today for an individual, and kind of put together a thumbnail P&L so you could see in that location what the potential for revenue and the estimated expenses might look like. Absolutely.
Quick question about your financing.
Yes, sir.
What should a person expect to bring to the table? Because I'm assuming not everybody's 100% financing. What should they expect to bring with them to this, the financing table? I mean, should it be like, do you have any kind of a ballpark figure? What should I expect to have, depending on what kind of results come back from your financing people? I mean, the 100% financing, is that like, what percentage are how many people are able to do the 100%?
You know, you would be surprised. I would say of the people that look to do financing through one of the lenders that we can provide to them, I would say better than 60%, maybe as high as 70% get 100% financing. Um, and often what an individual will do, will go, as I say, you know, we'll get a result on what funding would be available to you, typically within 48 hours of your coming on board. And what a lot of individuals, will do, they say, well, gee, looks like I can get 70, and I've got 30 of my own, so I can go a little bit bigger. You know, so that's almost always how that works. You know, an individual would like to see what they can secure, and then they determine, you know, do they want to move forward with a store of that size fully funded via the loan, or do they want to add some other resources to it and go to a little bit larger footprint? So, but yeah, as a general comment, I would say, you know, certainly at least 60% of the individuals that do stores will get 100% financing or something very, very close to that.
So it's wise to come prepared with some money for this venture in holding, or some money to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an advantage certainly, and keep in mind too, when we say that you can secure 100% financing, that typically includes working capital. And what we do is, if you're in finance, before we ever have you move to real estate, so now your funding secured, you know what you can obtain. We do a worksheet for you that shows, all right, you want to do that 1,000 square foot store, 76,900, and then we estimate the other funds that you should have available. Not that you would pay to us, but funds that you're going to need to establish your business, like the first month's rent, 1 month security deposit, some funds for business license and utility deposits and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that the loan that you're going to secure will cover those other expenses as well. You know, and usually I estimate for a 1,000 square foot store at 76.9, you're going to need another $12,000 to $15,000 for those other expenses, you know, the rent deposits and so on. And we always set aside or pencil in, an amount for tenant improvements, because you may come upon a space where the space needs flooring and paint, and sometimes you'll hit a landlord where he's willing to pay for it, but he doesn't want to do it. So he'll say, you know what, I'll give you $8 a square foot in tenant improvement allowance, and you put in the flooring, you paint the walls, and then give me the receipts and I'll reimburse you. So we want to make sure that you have the funds available to do that up front, and then you're going to get it back from the landlord. And most often, those extra amounts that we estimate you should have, very seldom does a client actually need all of them. But we want to make sure you're in a position, because you find a great location, but that's the option that the landlord's giving you. We want to make sure that you can take advantage of that. Any other questions?
Is there a site
Yes,
that
I
you
have
can
a
go
question.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So I understand we get a bargain by, buying in bulk from your warehouse and all that. Mm-hmm. But on average, how much profit are we making off of, each dollar that a customer spends in the store,
Okay, good.
Like, is it 50 cents? Is it 75 cents? I just need a bowl. I know it's not always the same amount for each product, but what's a good, ballpark?
That's an excellent question. In a dollar-only store, the average cost of goods is going to be 54 to 55 cents. So your gross margin on product is going to be about 45%, or 45 cents out of every dollar. Is your gross profit. In a dollar plus or a 1, 2, 3 type store, the margins are a little bit better because you have a little bit more flexibility in your retail, because you don't have to sell everything for $1. So in a dollar plus type store, the average cost of goods is more like 50 cents or 50%. So the margin is about the same, about 50% gross margin on product, and can be higher. At that point, it depends on the product mix and where your store is located and how it evolves. But I'm very comfortable with the 50% at minimum. So, does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as you said, some categories have a higher average cost, some have lower average cost, but over a week or a month's time, you should easily achieve that average cost of 54 cents or thereabouts. And in training, we have you, among other things, we have you track your purchases by the week and by the month, and you're constantly recomputing your actual cost of goods in your store. So you can see if you're not buying properly and your average cost of goods is inching up, we can help you go back through your purchase and say, gee, you're really not paying attention to some of these categories. And I'll give you a quick example. I was in a store a couple of months ago, and I'm walking through the store, and one good example would be gift bags. They pay a much higher margin of profit than average. Gift bags will cost you anywhere from 25 to 35 cents or so. So nice profitable items. So I'm walking through the store, and I was talking to the owner, and we started looking at his gift bag. Well, it looked beautiful. It's 16 feet long, very colorful. And I started looking at it, and I said, Jim, I see an issue here. And he says, what's that? And I said, well, I'm looking at these gift bags. I don't see one gift bag for a male, not one. And last time I looked, we were about 50% of the population. He says, by gosh, you're right. And he had no first birthday bags. He didn't have bags for christenings. I said, you're missing 40% of your sales. Even though the section is full and it looks appealing, you're missing half the business. And then we walked over to the greeting cards, and we're looking at the greeting card rack, and somebody had straightened it. It looked really nice. But when they straightened it, they just filled the pockets. They didn't really merchandise it. So we started to dig through that, and I said, there's no happy birthday, sweetheart here. There's no happy birthday to my wife. There's no first birthday. And again, I said, you're missing probably 30 or 40% of your sales. The rack looks great, but there are no sales in it. And so that you can see that when you start to analyze your average cost of goods right away, and you start to look at what am I missing, and you'll go back and see, well, gee, I didn't really order party goods for a month, or I didn't really order gift bags, because they look full, and you can't fall into that trap of not digging in below the surface to see what you really have, and that's a big part of what we talk about in trading because it's so important. If your party section is full and you've got a happy birthday mail design for a young boy, but you're missing the napkins, well, you're not going to sell the other 5 items in that ensemble because you need to have the napkins. So not only did you lose the sale on the napkins, you lost the sale on the other 5 items. So you lost not a $1 sale, but a $5 sale. So it's really important to dig into the detail. And I learned that myself a long, long time ago. So again, I got way off track there, but I apologize. But those are important things to remember.
What about how much shoplifting do you have to write off in a retail store a year?
Okay, good question.
And how do you absorb that loss?
In a typical retail environment, which I worked in when I was a much younger man, we look to get about or an acceptable shrinkage rate was about 3% of sales. In the dollar stores, quite honestly, it's much less for a couple of reasons. One, the stores are smaller and much easier to control than most retail stores. More importantly, the cost of the product is so low that, number one, most of the merchandise isn't really desirable to a shoplifter. Do I really want to risk getting caught stealing $3 worth of merchandise? Probably not. And to make an impact, you'd almost have to fill a dump truck with product to actually impact the store. What you do have to be very aware of, and we spend a lot of time on this in training as well, is theft of cash. Making sure that when you hire somebody, you don't hire a problem. You do a good background check. And then we have any number of means that we train on and about to make sure, as my father used to say, keep the honest people honest. Uh, and, those are things like, doing spot audits on cash registers throughout the day at different times. You pop into the store, you do a countdown on the register, see if it's over or short. I always watch for if I count down a register and it's $2 or $3 over. I worry more about overages than shortages. Shortages can just be careless, which is a problem. Overages typically means that somebody is not ringing up a sale and just taking the money and put it in the drawer so they can take it out later. Things like that. I always used secret shoppers as another example. In fact, when I had my stores years ago, I used my children because they were kind of in their early teens, and I'd send them into a store. I'd have them do a shop. They'd assess the condition of the store on a little form I gave them after they got outside. But more importantly, and this is just one little trick, I'd have them do an open drawer sale. And what that is you go up to the register, and you've got 5 items, and Susie behind the register rings up the 5, and she says, okay, that'd be $5.85 or whatever it is. You give her a $10 bill, and while she's making your change, you see there's some item on the register. Maybe it's a pen or a candy bar. You say, you know what? I want 2 of those candy bars. Here's $2. And then you wait and see if she rings up that $2 or not, or does she just give you your change from the original sale and put your candy bars in the bag? If she does that, she's going to swipe those $2 later, guaranteed. So that's something that you can do. And you can have family members do that. Pay them $5 a shop or whatever to go in. It's golden. The other thing that I used to do, and a lot of our store owners do, is I took a 8x10 card and I printed on it, if your receipt is not correct or you do not receive a receipt, call this number for a $10 reward. And I'd take some contact paper and I'd stick that right on the register counter. And sometimes I'd get a call, not often, but I did. But more to the point, if I came in the morning or came in from my day off and that sign had been removed, that tells me that the cashier is probably not honest because she didn't want to deal with that, so she made it go away, or he. So and again, that's just a few of the many ways to control the internal issues that you might have in your store. And you don't have a lot of them, and it really always comes down to hiring the right person. And we spend a lot of time talking about human resources and how to screen and where to look to hire people. And it's the most important thing. If you don't hire a problem, you won't have one. Next question?
Yes, hi. I have a question. How long is the training?
Okay, good question. When we when we did it here in our office in the classroom, it was 3 days, 8 hours a day. Doing it now online and over the phone, it can be at your convenience. It's still, the online components will still take about the same time, but you don't have to sit in a chair in a classroom. You can do an hour here, 2 hours there. As you finish each section, you can review it with our trainer over the phone. Typically you have questions, you can either call her or email her and go back through anything that you need more help with, so to speak. And then the phone training typically centers mostly around a review of all the suppliers. And then, of course, we get with you and we'll discuss your store and the specific merchandise needs that you might have identified. And then the trainer will write a recommended set of orders. She'll then send those to you. You and she'll review them, and you'll approve each one, and then that becomes your opening store order. But the training you can do, it's actually kind of nice. You can do it at your leisure in the evenings or whenever, and then the phone part of it, we just schedule at times that are convenient for you.
So it's on your own pace.
Exactly. And what's nice too is you can go back through it. Maybe a month from now, gee, how did that purchase log work exactly? You can go back and review that information and, of course, talk to your trainer as well. So, yeah, it's a nice advantage. And the training, we developed it over the last 20, 25 years. I don't think we miss much. We also talk about how to set up your grand opening and things like that, and how to market your store. You set up a Facebook page and the other social media that is so powerful these days. Yeah, it's all positive.
Oh, okay. And also, you mentioned that it takes like 30 to 45 days to find a location. Let's say you find that location. How long um, does it? I forgot. How long like does it take for you to like to be open?
To actually set up the store.
I don't know.
Okay, from the time the lease is signed, and again, that's the one part of the process that I don't like to rush. Um, It's like finding a spouse. You want to make sure you kiss all the frogs before you find that prince, because it is important. But that being said, you know, we work as aggressively as we can to move through that process. So once you sign your lease, the only thing that can vary there is the landlord ready to turn over the space right away, or does he have some work to do in the space? And usually it's fairly minimal. So once you sign your lease, it takes us, assuming the space is ready right then, from the time you pay your store package, it takes us 21 days to get there because that time is taken up by us reviewing the orders with you, placing them, allowing them time to ship. Same thing with the fixtures and equipment. So from the time payment is made, 21 days, and it takes us 7 days to open your store. So in a perfect world, from the time you sign your lease, 30 days, you're ringing the cash register.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, during that time, we've got to get your training done. Like I said, review all the orders, and that can all be happening while the landlord's doing his work. And we typically do that, and we want to get on your doorstep as quickly as possible because you're going to have free rent that was negotiated for you, and ideally, you want to be hitting your doorstep about the time that free rent is just starting, so you don't burn any of it up waiting. You know, so if we negotiate 3 or 4 months of free rent, we want to make sure you're open for virtually all of that because it's a great benefit to you. You're doing business and you're not paying for your space, so really time that out.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
When we start the store, how many employees would you recommend having?
Okay, that'll vary a little bit by and be determined. You know, are you going to work the store? Are you going to be absentee? As a general comment, what I would say is that again, we'll use the example of a 1,000 square foot store. To staff that store, you will need about 72 to 74 work hours per week. And if you're an owner and you're going to be an owner in the store, you know, you might work like 45 hours a week, so that leaves about 28 or 30 hours that you would have to pay somebody to work. So you kind of use that as a guide. It doesn't require a lot of staffing in these stores, and I always recommend using part-time employees, other than yourself, of course, because it gives you a lot more flexibility. You know, if Johnny doesn't show up, he's got a cold, you can have one of your other employees stay a couple extra hours, and there's no overtime involved. If you get a big shipment in, you want to bring somebody in a couple hours early to help process it and get this product on the shelves, that's great. Again, there's no overtime, so part-time employees are always the best.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I don't know if you can answer this question, but it's about financing.
Okay.
If your credit is not great, but it's not bad, and they want you to like bring up your score to a little bit higher, I don't know what kind of score they're looking for. How long will they wait with your deposit?
There's no urgency on our side, and you're right. You know, we have several lenders that can help you with credit repair or help someone with credit repair. You know, if they need an item removed or something challenged, and it can make a dramatic difference in your credit. In fact, I'm working with a gentleman right now, just as an example to answer your question. His deposit was put in place in January of 2019. And he went through. He had a lot of issues on his credit, and it took him about 6 or 8 months to do that. And then he wanted to come in with more cash, so he continued to set money aside. And now he's been in real estate for about 30 days, and I think we're actually zeroing in on a location for him as we speak.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, that puts my mind at ease.
Yeah. No clock on it. No clock on it.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? All right.
No.
Now you're gonna write me down for a call. Cornell Richard. I have someone to call me tomorrow.
Your first name was Cornell?
Yeah.
Richard.
Last name Richard.
Yes, I will have someone call you. Let me jot down your number if I can, Cornell, just to make sure.
708. 639. 5342.
5342. Okay, yeah, no, I'll have someone call you first thing in the morning. And for everyone, keep in mind that if you do decide to investigate further and you want to put your application in place, if you do it prior to next Friday, you're in line to get that $2,000 in free merchandise when you open your store, which turns into about $4,000 at retail, which is a great thing. So,
Awesome.
okay, any other questions? And I think in the email that you got, it had my email address and phone number as well. Always feel free to call me. I'll give it to you I'll give you my phone number if you would like to jot it down. And of course, you can always talk to your representative if you have specific questions. My number is 702-637-3389. And that'll come right to my desk. You don't have to go through the switchboard or anything.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. 702-637-3389.
Okay, and I have a question. How do we know that you know, or whoever does the $2,000 in merchandise, if we qualify and start our business, knows that we attended the seminar?
Yeah, it'll be in the notes when you put your deposit in place. So you absolutely,
okay.
Yeah, we record that automatically. So, and
okay, thank you.
Harking back to a question that came in earlier, if you are a veteran, make sure you mention that if you put a deposit in place, because there are some other benefits that as a veteran you would be available to take advantage of. So.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Any last questions?
So now what's the next step from here?
Okay. The next step would be to contact your representative.
Okay.
Do that application deposit. As I said, it'll take about 10 minutes on the phone, and we'll go right into finance. And within 48 hours, you'll know if you can get funding, and then you move forward from there.
So, how do I know what representative is that? Who sent me the email? Is that Bruce Benson or?
Why don't you give me your name and number, and I'll have someone call you in the morning.
Okay, Deborah, spell the short way, DEBRA.
Okay.
331 218 7062.
7062. And your last name, Deborah? I'm sorry.
Lesso, Lesso.
Got it. All right, I'll see who is assigned to work with you, and I'll have them call you first thing in the morning.
Wonderful.
Very good. And
I have one last question.
No,
I have a question before you hang up.
No more questions. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
It's an easy question.
All right.
Do we have to use the name of our store called Dollar Store, or do we make up our own name for our store?
That is a great question, and yes, you can come up with your own name. Dollar Store is about as vanilla as it could possibly be, but it tells a story, so I will never say don't do that. Yeah, we're not a franchise, so you can name the store whatever you choose, and I have a list of several hundred names that people have used or considered over the years, and when we get to that point, I can send you that list. It's a good place to start to brainstorm from. I'm not saying you have to pick one of those names, and I'm always amazed and pleasantly surprised at how creative people can be. But no, you're not tied into any specific name, and I'll tell you this later when we're naming your store, but you don't have to put the word store in your name. Everybody knows it's a store. So call it Dollar Plus, call it Buck More, call it 1, 2, 3, Go. And there's a million variations. I'm looking at an email right now that a gentleman sent me. He said, "How about this name?" And it was where is it at here? It was Dollar Up Express. And I said, Mohammed, that's a great name, but it's really long.
Yeah.
and what happens is the longer the name, the smaller the letters have to be on your outdoor sign. So I always recommend shorter is better because your letters can be bigger and they can be more impactful. So we went back and we changed it to a dollar sign plus Express, Xpress. So we cut it down by about 30%, and I think that's what he's going to end up going with.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, you can name it whatever you choose, and I'll always help you at the end. You know, if you have a couple of finalists, we can kind of knock them around together and see what might be the best option. So.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
No. No. That was a great one, though, that last one. I wouldn't have thought that. I did not know that. So.
Yeah, it absolutely was. You know, and it's funny, that always comes up when it comes up at the end of the process, you know, and people say, do I really have to call my store Dollar Store Services? And I tell them, please don't. That's the worst possible thing ever. Don't do that. But no, it's a very good question. So, well, good. I appreciate everybody's time this evening. I know it's probably a long day and longer for some of us than others. And if you have questions, call me, call your representative. You can always respond to the email that you got if you're not sure who to contact. And I'll have somebody call you or contact you right back and address any questions that you might have. And hopefully we'll have the opportunity to work together.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. You were awesome. Thank you.
Y'all have a great
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody relax. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye now.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.